Yeah, she not in here. She's not in here, Sam. All right. This was cool. I watched it. I watched through some of it, but I wanted to watch through the rest on the live. It's a guy. He had an awesome psychedelic magic mushroom experience. He calling it crazy, but that's how it gets sometimes. Let's see what he had to say.
So I would like to share last night's magic mushroom experience with y'all. Last night around 11:30, 11:45, or 12, I'm laying in bed and I decide the mushrooms start calling me. You know, sometimes the psychedelics, the entheogens, will actually reach out to you. Strain that I consumed was a crossbreed between Mad Hatters and B+. Now, I want to make you aware that the word hallucination was coined by an individual by the name of Thomas Brown. All right, and hallucination basically alludes to the fact that these magic mushrooms are basically something that's all in your mind when that's actually false. When you
All right, let's see. Who invented the word hallucinate? I not spell that right. The word hallucinate comes from the Latin al- alcinatus, later hallucinatus, which is the past participle of hallucinare, meaning to wander in the mind, dream, talk unreasonably, ramble in thought. Introduction to English. The word hallucinations was introduced in the English language in 1646 by Sir Thomas Brown, a 17th century physician and author. And he just took some Latin words to wander in the mind to talk unreasonably. The word hallucinare is likely related to the Greek uh, eilen or halen, meaning to wander in the mind, be at loss, be beside oneself. Be beside oneself. That's a good one. Sometimes you gotta get beside yourself. Isn't that what they say in all the churches? All right, you trying to get out the door? Go ahead. Don't they say in churches get beside yourself? So you trying to say they hallucinating when they get beside themselves all in the church? There's a bunch of hallucinating going on. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. Meaning to have illusions. Older meanings. This is a rare and absolute transition sense meaning to deceive. Let's see. Why did you create the word? Yeah, we're doing a little knowledge based on here. A little knowledge on the Psy Tai podcast. But it's still fun. But it's still just knowledge. Who cares? The need. Oh, they just saying as a position. Came later. Alright, okay. Let's hop back into the mushroom journey.
when you consume psilocybin, you gain access to what's called the mycelium network. All right, and you have to remember that psilocybin magic mushrooms actually have been around for millions and millions of years. So that means there's tons of data biologically encrypted in this fungi. Over the years, we were led to believe that psychedelics were bad. They actually demonize these entheogens because they allow you to break the fourth wall and see beyond the veil. That I
Let's see. How old are mushrooms? Fungi. I'm texting out this perplexity AI too. Instead of using Google, it searches through different sources and gives you an answer and still gives you the sources if you want to click on them. A 2020 study found fossilized fungi dating back to 715 to 810 million years ago. about 300 million years earlier than previously believed. Believe it! The earliest terrestrial fungus fossils have been found in South China from around 635 million years ago. Usually you hear 65 million years, something like that, and that's the dinosaurs. This is 665 million years old. The fungi likely colonized land during the Cambrian over 500 years ago, possibly as early as 635 million years ago during the Euclidean. Where did they get this from? Oh, they got this from the wiki. I'm not going to go through that right. Summary. While fungi may have originated as early as 1.5 to 2.4 billion years ago, well, they just made that part up, AI. Where did you get the billion from? Where did you get the billion from, AI? You need some help on that. Like, yeah, that's still a long time. And data is passed on, like through epigenetics, through people, through even your, like as recent as your grandmom and stuff like that. Things that they ate, that they've been through, that they experienced, is playing out in your DNA right now. I was watching a Star Talk episode about that on Star Talk, and with who was that? Neil deGrasse Tyson. Hey, Cameron.
Wow.
I guess.
What a
Reaction video.
What a metric.
Really,
create this pairing like odor, or we can use sound. We use odor for
sensory correspondence. Yeah.
sensory correspondence. Yes, and I even said the vision, like going into the chamber. Will
Oh,
also
this
make
is
the
how
vision.
they found
But
out
we use
that
odor for a very
it was
specific
passed
reason.
down. She talking about the mouse, and what they did was they only gave a certain scent to some of the mice, the father mice, and to see if their lineage will react to the scent the same way that it did, but they never introduced it to it. But in its offspring, they reacted the same way as the dad and stuff was doing. But in the other ones that was never introduced to it, and they was introduced in some kind of way, they reacted totally differently because they didn't
And I
have
can
that
either tell you now,
memory
you
in
can
their
ask me, I
DNA.
can tell you. What do you want me to do?
No, let's.
There's a level of specificity. And in speaking about epigenetic inheritance and transgenerational epigenetic inheritance, what does it mean for us to be stressed because of our ancestors? This is what we're missing in the field. And this is why I'm so proud that my lab has been able to bring this to the field, the level of specificity. Because we're not talking about your feelings getting hurt. We're talking about an odor that only binds and activates this one receptor in this nose.
Right.
And what we've been able to replicate,
Yeah.
another lab did this
Because
first.
in your nose only smell things because it has receptors. So when the smell molecules going around, scientists say they fit exactly in those receptors. And that's why you smell it. And if you don't have those receptors, then you can't smell it. So they gave this one mice the ability to get those receptors.
And it came up with a lot of controversy. And then totally
That's
skipped
what
a part
happened.
because
Oh,
we're
yeah.
seeing that the
Right.
offspring have a brain that looks like the parent. But I didn't tell you what the parent brain looks like. We take the animal out of this chamber after 3 days of odor shock pairing. We actually let them relax. Day 10, they actually get to, have a little fun. They breed because we're going to look at those kids later. And 21 days later, we ask them to sacrifice their life, and then we look at their brain.
Right.
And if you look at the animals that just got an odor and no shock, or just got a shock and no odor, or got odor and shock, but it's not co-terminating at the same time, their brains all look the same. The paired animals, we call it, the animals got the odor co-terminating with shock, they have more neurons that respond to that odor.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to give a second to give the beauty of biology that sits there before we even get to the next generation. The brain takes energy to make new things, to change.
It's
we
an
have
electric.
more
It's an
neurons.
electric device.
It
so
actually
makes
grows
sense.
So what
the
period of
brain.
time
The mouse brain
does it
actually
take
grew
for
new
this
neurons,
generation of more receptors
and it
to
passed it
actually
down to the
happen?
kid at the same time.
We are
in the
seeing it
adult?
in the order of 21 days, about a month.
Wow.
Cool part about the main olfactory epithelium, there's stem cells in this area.
What part? That's the part where the smell.
Exactly, the neurons
manifests.
that can smell the world and then send
And you
information
call that
to
what?
the main olfactory epithelium. Epithelium.
There's another epi.
Oh,
Look at that.
wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that are there.
Stem
And they're
cells.
like what am I going to be when I grow up? And they usually hang out and they're like, okay, I'm going to be a peppermint cell because that's what my epigenetic modifications will allow me to be. And then we give them this experience, this odor shock pairing. And what we've gone on to demonstrate, what my lab has demonstrated, is that these neurons are going to be peppermint and say, as important as peppermint is, almonds more important.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I gotta make
I'm
a
going
detour.
to bias my receptor choice.
I gotta make a detour because that's more important for me.
Okay.
So what she's saying is that the genetic disposal is there, like for the genes to choose to be different things, but they choose to do what they do based off of what they was passed down with. And that's how they would then choose to express themselves based off their experience of what's deemed necessary. So imagine with the mushrooms and stuff, having that downloaded to your actual neurons. You see how lion's mane, they talking about the neuroplasticity and how it helps promote new brain growth and stuff like that. New neurons, synapses start firing off like they were when people were kids. It's all there. Now let's go back to the mushroom journey of the guy on TikTok.
Got that disclaimer out the way. Last night's trip blew my mind. Once I take the shrooms, I lay back in my bed. I typically like to sit in darkness and put my meditation music on. All right, I don't watch TV or anything. I just go completely inward and I close my eyes like this, right? So I say about 20 minutes go by and the magic mushrooms turn on. They start to kick in. I'm seeing these geometric fractal patterns and things of that nature. And then it starts taking me down a tunnel. Typically this is when I'm now know that I'm shifting over to another parallel or paradigm, right? And as I go through this tunnel, as this wormhole actually connect me to this other timeline, it starts to show me different visuals. Magic mushrooms are one of the only entheogens that you can ask a question and they will literally answer, all right? They would telepathically provide the answer to you. Shrooms can actually talk to you.
Now that sound like what they trying to get the AI to do for people too? Be able to think. Oh, don't you want to be able to think and have the answer just pop up? Like our people and our ancestors and people and humans, they've been interacting with different plant technologies that allowed them to interact with the world around them in a magnificent way that to them it was totally normal. And that's how they operated in and the normancy of it. And that's how they then was able to display it like feats of fearlessness. It's like, oh, it's actually pretty normal. It's actually okay. It's actually all right.
Also allows you the ability to hear the ancestors that are always in your auric field. Typically,
we know the rain about to come, and they was steadily always paying attention to signs and stuff that other people wasn't able to pay attention to because their brain was working differently. So then they would call upon the gods or rain dance or certain things, or be able to look in the air and see things that other people would say probably saw stratus clouds and different. They able to pay attention to weather patterns. Just how the farmer is compared to the person that lives in the city. They much more attuned to which way the wind is blowing. Oh, that wind is coming from the east. The east wind is blowing. They usually come down here around May, and they warp around here. That's why it gets colder in the valley than the other part of the city. And so us as humans, I see attuning ourselves to what's necessary, and the entheogens have been a big part of man being able to experience and meditations and how our brains work, period. But I'm talking about now come on, kitty. Yeah, about the meditations and everything. Being able to just, this cat took me to a whole nother paradigm for a minute. I don't know. What did I just say? The other people wasn't able to pay attention to because their brain was working differently. Yeah, they was able to think about things and work with the environment around them, offer different tools. They'll go around in the woods and see what kind of other herbs would be useful to humans for different sicknesses and illnesses that really they would then become the proud medicine woman or proud medicine man of the tribe because they use they imagination and skill set and wonder and their themselves just how they saw their brain working because they was taking mushrooms and different things to go out and see how the plants worked how they probably saw different birds using the plants how they probably saw different insects using the plants and human curiosity would try a bunch of different things when it's willing to so especially in times of need just sprinkle a little bit of this on there. Just sprinkle, rub a little of this on there. You be all right. You be all right. Those type vibes. Let's get back into this.
Your ancestors are always attached to you by your DNA, by way of your genetics and lineage, right?
Same.
But a lot of people can't really hear their ancestors on a consistent basis unless they have those senses activated, right? But as soon as you utilize the magic mushrooms and access the mycelium network, at that particular point in time, you can hear the voices of your ancestors and everything. Magic mushrooms will also force you to confront your shadow work. If there's anything about yourself that you need to fix, the magic mushrooms would definitely make you observe it. In this trip, it was showing me how low-key we are really superheroes, all right? And it was showing me how at one point they did an experiment where they had multiple people in this laboratory. And they was actually seeing that these individuals had psionic waves. They had the ability of exploding things with their mind, right? And they understood that we all had this type of ability, and this is why they were utilizing different things like the lead, cadmium, the mercury, the chemtrails. There's so many different ingredients in chemtrails that people are unaware of, all right? And it was showing me all of this, and it was showing me how much we are really dumbed down, and that at one point we're gonna get to the point that when we fully do activate, just the thoughts of our mind is going to be exploding things because we're going to have to learn how to develop our abilities. It was showing me that we truthfully have very strong mental kinetic energy. And I'm not talking about just moving no aluminum or anything. I'm talking about real telekinetic ability like 11 from Stranger Things or something like that. The shrooms kicked in, they rapidly increased my ability mentally. Like my brain was moving so rapid. It was moving super fast, extremely fast, and the shrooms were also speaking ancient languages to me. They were speaking in different languages when they were talking to me. This is where the trips start getting real crazy, right? And this particular point, I asked the shrooms, who really am I, right? Where did I derive from, and who really am I? The shrooms actually told me that before I fell down to the third dimension and inhabited this physical body, I was a dragon and went by the name of Gal Saldran. At this point, I start debating with the shrooms. Like, I didn't agree with them. Like, nah, that's foolish, right? And then they start telling me, well, pay attention to the signs. They start telling me, why do you think you get so many dragon symbolisms? Like, this was a gift that was gifted to me. Here's another thing I would like to show you. This is another thing that found its way to me, all right? This is a sword, all right? And this is actually a gold dragon, all right? This is composed of a gold dragon here, all right? And if you see here, this is the full sword here. That's a dragon, right? And out of all things that I could have received, what made it be a dragon? And the shrooms was actually showing me this, all right? And as I expressed to the collective, in order to get rid of malnelevant entities, blue is required, all right? And the sword is actually blue, all right? We know that in ancient times, they used Hank blue to get rid of the boo hags. The shrooms start showing me characteristics of my face that actually was similar to a dragon, like my nose and things of that nature. And it made me aware of all the dreams and astral projection experiences that I have had where I seen multiple dragons. There was one
the shrooms would do that. The shrooms, they will show you a lot of experiences that you had throughout your whole life and have your memories start just coming back from all the daydreaming. I used to daydream a lot in school. I used to just be looking out the window. Even while doing my work, I'll just be daydreaming about the numbers jumping around or different things. Mushroom showed a lot of how that was connected to reality, to things that's part of who I am in my being, or how a person is made up. What a person is made up of, their feelings, their emotions, their thoughts, their imagination of things. And how some people play off the imagination. It's not real, don't really matter. But then we encourage kids to imagine all the time. And if a movie ain't imaginative enough, we like, this movie is bogus, this movie ass, trash, throw it away.
experience that I have I encountered recently where I was flying and I actually just encountered a realm full of dragons, right? And the shrooms actually told me, what made you think that you were still in a human body when you were in that realm? They told me you didn't have access to a mirror or the access to your reflection. They made me aware that at that time when I was seeing the dragons, that I was a dragon myself. This left me in complete awe. They made me aware that a lot of us actually that are in this current body have completely different looks in the astral realm. Some of us are fairies, pixies. Some individuals are trolls. Some individuals are mermaids. You know, there's a lot of different type of entities that exist. Explained to me that I take on many different forms in the astral realm, but my primary form, my first form, was this dragon entity.
And you left it right there.
So I would like to
That
share
was a dope
last night.
story. Strange the World Play King. Thanks for uploading. That was a cool story. Cause what he say at the end?
Of us are fairies, pixies.
Oh yeah, he talking about the seeing people as things on the other side. I heard a lot of stories. You hear this a lot of stories of psychedelic space. People turning into other people when they turn around, look at them, they start looking different and things like that. Or even in the space. I remember this one time I took DMT and I was sitting with all my friends and I saw all of us in different realities, but doing similar things. Like doing similar things to what we was doing then. But we was in multiple realities. Multiple There was so many different scenarios. But it was the same thing happening. And think about the AI and virtual reality space. I played a lot of VR. I played some on this channel too, where you could design your character or choose an avatar and play out that character. That game has so many people playing online now. So many people that live out in there, just living as a whale or as Mario or as a dragon. Hey, kitty. This cat's not leaving me alone. Just gonna chill out on the Psy Tai podcast. Yeah, that's the vision space. It gets wild because the mushrooms and your own vision will show you a lot of things about where we allegedly come from. But I pose the question: what's the difference between a past life, a parallel life, and somebody writing a story and really getting real in depth to it and playing it out, and then being so much person feeling so much in depth in there that when they put it out, it affects the whole world. What is the difference? Just Todd, just Todd, just Todd. Mushroom, we did that one. Let's go up. All right. Went through the videos. I think I'm gonna end it right there, guys. Thank you for tuning on in. This was the Psy Tai podcast with your host, Psy Tai. This video, this video is brought to you by Just Thai Mushrooms. JustThaiMushrooms.com. Go and check it out. Got meditations, games, open experiences, Just Thai Now news articles, recipes, and a little bit of history. Anything that you need. And coming soon is Just Thai AI.ai, where you can play some games I created with the help of using AI. Simon Says, got the little Tetris code. And gonna have some articles up there posted up on the daily. This is the beta. Y'all seeing it early. And I thank y'all for being here. Have a good night.